Well, once again, a very good evening to all my dear students, viewers, and listeners. I'm back with you with your English for class 10, and if you are tuning in for the very first time today, I'm telling you that this is your English class, and I want all of us to make the best use of it. I'm Miss Vivekunyovele from Mount Sinai Higher Secondary School. Okay, in the previous class, we have done a prose section, that is imitating the English gentleman, and we have discussed a lot of things yesterday. And I believed a lot of you are going through your books after you listened to the explanations. We regret that we are unable to interact face to face, but I believe that this is going to help us a lot. We, the teachers, are missing you, and I'm sure sometimes you will be missing us too. But it's a good opportunity that the department has given us this platform to get in touch with you once again, and we are getting the sense of school environment here. Being the very first day yesterday, I'm sure a lot of you are uncomfortable with it, but I am reminding you, as long as the crisis does not stop, I believe that this is going to be more comfortable. It's not like the traditional classroom, it's more conventional. You can be at the comforts of your home right in front of your screen, and requesting you all to be focused in this short period of English. Today, I've picked up our first grammar worksheet, that is grammar worksheet 1, which is going to be in page number 28 till page number 43. I repeat, page number 28 to page number 43. There will be a lot of exercises in between, but we will not be doing all the exercises in detail, but I'm sure every one of us are going to get benefited through this explanation of our grammar worksheet 1. So the main topics in grammar worksheet 1 are determiners, subject pronoun agreement, non-finite verb forms. I repeat, determiners, subject pronoun agreement, non-finite verb forms. And here we will first discuss on what determiners are. When we hear the word determiners, we feel like we know it, but sometimes when we are asked to explain it, we find it a little difficult to answer the question again. So I'm going to in a very simple manner, explain what determiners really mean in a grammar subject. Determiners are just words that specify something clearer to us. We already know it, but it makes the things appear clearer to us, or it specifies a noun. It will make things appear clearer to us. For example, I say a flower, or I just say flowers in the garden. That means I'm making it very generalized and you do not know which flower I want to point it out. But when I say the flower in that corner, that means you all will know that I am referring to a particular kind of flower to all of you. And here, so this is exactly what a determiner is. But unless I explain into details, that may be a little difficult for us to comprehend it. Some of you might have already covered your lesson here, but let's just take this as a revision class. And sometimes in our first class, we do not get hold of everything that the teachers want to convey. Maybe we get lost somewhere in the middle of the class. So this is a good time for us to revise, or if you have not covered this chapter, let's take this opportunity to learn what determiners are. There are so many kinds of determiners, and today I'm going to explain the 5 major kinds of determiners that are given in our textbooks. 5 major kinds of determiners. And the first one is articles. When I say articles, you all are very familiar with it. Articles, I think we have been starting to learn articles by class 3. In the process, all your high school life, from class 3 till class 10, you have been learning about articles, but sometimes in the middle we tend to make some mistakes again. So let us just take this time to relearn what we have already learned, or make it clearer, even though we are already aware of what article is. Articles, there are only 3 articles here, that is a and the. And so the 3 articles are further subdivided into 2, that is definite and indefinite article. Before getting into that, let me explain what definite is. Definite means something that we are sure of. And indefinite, we do not know whether it's, like the lockdown that is going on now, we are not very sure of how long it will go, or we are not sure whether it will be opened very early. So that is something indefinite. And definite means something that is very sure, that we are very sure of. When I say definite, the word will make things appear very clear to us. Definite will be THE. The word THE will be called as definite article. So when I use the word THE in front of a particular object, that means that is a definite article. So, for example, I say, the student sitting right in front of the screen now. That means I'm referring to you. You are that particular student that I'm referring to, so that makes it a definite article. And the next two are an, and so these two will make it indefinite. We are referring to an object, but which is not very particular or not very specific to each one of us. And this and can be used only when the object is singular. I can say an orange. That is a very simple example that we always keep hearing in our normal classrooms. An orange. Or I should also say a book. That means I'm referring to a book which is not particular, and you may find it difficult. If I just ask you to go and bring a book, you may run out and bring a random book because I have not mentioned any particular book here. But here, remember that we can use it only for a singular object. When I say singular, I'm sure you are all aware of it. Singular just means single. So, when I say indefinite article, you can use for a random object maybe, but remember to use only when the object is singular. And here, the difference between an is the word and can be used only when the object starts with a vowel. Example, an orange. We know that the vowels are A, E, I, O, U. So, if the word starts with any of these 5 letters, then only you can use the word and even if it is singular. You cannot use and for any random singular objects. We have to make sure that it can be used only when the object starts with a vowel or it has the sound of a vowel. Sometimes there are some particular words that starts with a vowel but it does not have the sound of a vowel. Example, university. The word university starts with U, but it has the sound of Y, and that is the reason why we do not say an university. We say a university, though it starts with a vowel. We have to make some differences here, but these are exceptional cases. There are not many words that sounds like that. Example, an umbrella. It starts with U and it also has the sound of a vowel, that is A. And that is the reason why we can use an umbrella but not an university. I believe that is clear to you. Okay. So let us go back to the second point, and that is demonstratives. Demonstrative here, the explanation may be a little different from the textual explanation because I want to explain it in a very simple way which will make us understand it more easily. I would rather use the word pointing words for a demonstrative determiner. Pointing words, I repeat. I think that will not be found on the Google, or it may not be found in the textbook. But I use the word pointing words for demonstrative determiners because when we use demonstrative determiners, we see that there is always some kind of pointing to a particular subject or a particular person. There are 4 demonstrative determiners here. I repeat, there are 4 demonstrative determiners, and they are this, THI is this, and then THA that, THOSE those, and THESE this again. We call these 4 words as demonstrative determiners because they always point things to us. When I say this marker, I hold a marker and say this marker, you know that I'm pointing to a particular marker. There might be a lot of markers, but here when I say this marker, that means I'm pointing to a particular marker, and that makes it a demonstrative determiner. I repeat, it is pointing word. It is a pointing word. Here we know that the difference between this and that is distance. The difference between this and that is distance, and here if you are pointing to an object that is closer to you, If you are pointing to an object that is closer to you, use the word this. But if it is far away from you, you use the word that. I cannot just point to an object that is very far away from me and say, this is the thing. Or I cannot just point to a cup that is right in front of you, right in front of me and say, that cup is mine. That will sound a little awkward. Even if I don't tell you that, you will also realize it. And so, this will be, this, this will be used to point thing which is close to you, and it should be a singular object here again. This is singular, and that is also singular. I should use the word that to point to an object that is far away from me, and that is also singular. And coming to the next word, those. It is also similar with that, that, and it points to a group of objects or a group of persons who are far away from you. You cannot point to a bundle of clothes that is kept on the table and say, those clothes are mine, if it is right in front of you. But you have to use those only when the objects are far away from you and they are in numbers. In other words, plural. And these can be used when you want to point to a group of things that is right in front of you or that is very close to you. If you are sitting in the front row in the classroom, I can point to you and say, these are the students who swept the classroom yesterday, for an example. So you can use it that way. But I cannot just point to a group of people who are very far away from me and say, these are the group of boys or these are the group of girls. That will sound a little inconvenient. And so for those things, we use the word those. So that is the difference between the demonstrative determiners. And next comes our possessives. The word possessive, let's just think about it. Possession means something that belongs to you. You might have heard a lot of times saying that there are some people who are so possessive. There are some people who are so possessive, that means they want to take ownership and they do not want. You may also find it in your class or in your friend circle that there are some persons who do not want to share any of their belongings or their items. We call them possessive. And so the same thing applies here in grammar. Possessive shows that something belongs to somebody. We say he is so possessive or she is so possessive because even in your friend circle, you may have a very good friend, a best friend, and during the school break, if your so-called best friend goes out with somebody, maybe you feel a little annoyed or you feel a little irritated with his or her behavior. That means you are tending to become possessive. And so I hope you got the meaning of what a possessive determiner is. And here, this possessive determiner does the same work, exactly like you use it in your daily conversations. It will point out that something belongs to somebody. I'll just cite some examples. I will not be giving you everything, but one possessive determiner can be my, 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 your, her, their, 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 its, etc. Okay, so these are some examples that I'm giving you. If I say this table is mine, so, or it also shows that the table belongs to me, but in order to find, sometimes we get confused with these possessive determiners and then the possessive words again. I have to say this is my table. And so the word my shows that the table belongs to me. And so this is a possessive determiner. Or if you want to say that it belongs to one of your friends, you can say this is your book. The word your becomes the possessive determiner here. But when there is an object, when you do not know how to differentiate the gender or if it is a non-living object, you have to use the word its, without an apostrophe. What I usually see in the normal classroom context is that there are some students using it with apostrophe s, its. But I want to remind all of you once again that it apostrophe s will just be the short form of it is. If I want to say it's a pleasant day today, or it's a pleasant evening today, that means I have to use the word it apostrophe s. But unless it is the shortened form of it is, you cannot use the word its. If you see a cute baby, you cannot say this is a cute baby, it's moving its hands a lot. You can say that because you do not know whether if you do not know the gender, if you do not know whether the baby is a girl or a boy, you can use the word its. Or I see a bird flying, this is a bird, its wings are colorful. I can use that. That is a possessive determiner for an object that is non-living or something that you cannot differentiate the gender, you can use. And you also use the word their, there, for a group of people that we know. But I want you to know that you cannot make the mistake of writing theirs again. Of course, theirs is also a possessive word, but it does not come under possessive determiner. That's something that we should be very clear of. And for his and her, even if I don't explain again, you will know. We use the word his for a male gender, and also we use the word hers, her, for a female. Those are the words that comes under possessive determiner. And next we have the distributives. Before getting into distributives, we know what is a distribution. Distribution means maybe giving out something. But there are some particular distributive determiners, and they can be each, every, either, neither. Because, see, example, I say, I'm giving a sweet to each of you. That means each and every one of you will get a sweet, one sweet. And so those words comes under the distributive determiner. And the last point that I'm going to explain is quantifier. I hope you know what is quantity. Quantity means the amount of something. We always say quantity and quality. And so here we are going to talk about quantity. A quantifier does the same thing like that. It tells us the amount of something. It will tell you how much it is, maybe less, little, more, and many. It will go on like that. And so a quantifier always tells us the amount of something. I'll just cite a few examples. I will not cite all. Some few examples are little, many, much, etc. Okay, we have got a good number of quantifiers, so I will not be stating everything. I repeat, little, many, much are some examples that I have cited. And so a quantifier will tell you the quantity of a particular subject. We usually say we got some homeworks. That means you got more than one. Sometimes you will also feel like saying there are a few sweets on my table, you can have it. So the word few tells you the amount of sweets that you have. It shows that it's more than one. And then here we also need to make a difference between the word few and little. Sometimes we tend to interchange their use, few and little. I repeat, few will be used for things that can be counted, and little will be used when you cannot count. You can say there are some few sweets on my table, as I cited, and you cannot say there are few water in the bucket. That will sound awkward because water cannot be counted. There's little water left in the bucket, example. And so you can use that. I want you to make a very clear difference between these two, few and little, because that's where we feel like we know it, but we are not very clear, so we tend to interchange their uses. So I want you to know few is for countables and little will be used for uncountables. You cannot count water, so you say few. But you can say, I have few bottles of water. That means you can count the bottles again. And so even if it is bottles of water, you can count the bottles. So let's not get confused here. Since I mentioned the word water and you cannot use few, but I also want you to know that if you are referring to a particular amount, like there are few bottles on my table, that means you can count the bottles. You are not here, the focus is not on the water, but the focus will be on the bottle. So as you know, you can count bottles, you will have to use the word few bottles. And so these are the main determiners that we will be using this whole worksheet. We have a lot of exercises, you know it. Later on, I'll be giving you some works. And here, I want you to, if you are watching or if you are listening with your books, I would also want you to take points or flip through your pages. That is page number 28 to 43, and the explanations that I've just given now will be in page number 28. Okay, and now the second point that we want, the main second point will be subject-pronoun agreement. Here, let me explain a little bit about pronoun, which we already know, but sometimes we tend to be forgetting. And so pronouns are words that are used in place of nouns. We all know that, right? But unless somebody explains to us again, it becomes difficult and we tend to be forgetting things. And so I'm repeating, pronouns are the words that are used in place of noun. For John is the most common name in English, so I'm going to use the word John again. For John, I have to use the word he. And so the word he is the pronoun of John. And so that is the subject and pronoun agreement. The subject is John and he is the pronoun. John has gone to school. He is an obedient boy. The word he had replaced John because repetitive use of names are not very advisable, or it does not sound very nice, so we use the pronouns instead of making a repetitive use of a name. And here, that is just subject-pronoun agreement. The heading seems to be a little complicated, but when we really get into it, it becomes very easy. So that is for a girl, example, Mary, we use the word she. Those are very common for non-living things or a thing without gender. We use the word it. That's what we have learned. And here, that with subject-pronoun agreement, they are just referring to this. Under subject-pronoun agreement, I want to explain 2 points. That is reflexive pronoun and emphatic pronoun. Reflexive, in your science subject, I'm sure you read what reflection is. If I stand in front of the mirror, I see myself. If you stand in front of the mirror, you don't say, I saw my friend in the mirror when I stood in front of it. No, I see myself. You see yourself, she sees herself, all those are. And here, all the pronouns with SELF or SELVES are considered to be reflexive pronoun. I repeat, all the pronouns, not all the words, okay? I'm saying all the pronouns with SELF or SELVES are called as reflexive pronouns. So, I hope you understood that themselves, there are some people who tend to make mistake here, themselves, but they will write themselves. Remember, SELVES can be used only when the pronoun is a plural. I cannot tell a girl, behave yourselves. And you also know that I made a mistake there. If I say behave yourselves, if I am referring to a single girl or a single boy. And that is the thing that we need to know. For all the singular pronouns, you will use the word yourself or SELF. Let me make it short. SELF. And for all the plural, a group of things or a group of people, you will use the word SELVES. That's one thing that we need to differentiate. But not all the words with SELF and SELVES will come only under reflexive. It will also come under emphatic. Okay. The word emphatic derived from emphasis. Emphasis means it is giving a focus to a particular thing. And in an emphatic pronoun, I repeat, in an emphatic pronoun, the main pronoun, that is the subject pronoun, and the reflexive will not be distances away. Okay, let me just go back to reflexive ones. Reflexive, you will see, I cited the example of I saw myself. The word saw had come in between I and myself. So there is a gap. There will be some words entering between the two pronouns. There will be two pronouns, or there may be a subject with a pronoun. And so the subject and the pronoun does not follow each other there. I see myself, you see yourself. The word see has come in between them. But for emphatic pronoun, the emphasis will just be on the subject or the pronoun. There will be no gap in between them. They will follow each other. Example, I myself did the work. Sometimes, when you write your home assignments, some teachers become suspicious of you. They ask you and you say, I myself wrote it. We all do that, right? And so, when we are using emphatic pronoun, when you are asked, because in our questions we usually get this. when you are asked to underline the reflexive or emphatic, sometimes it becomes difficult for you to differentiate. But here it's very easy. I'm reminding you, it's very easy. Just see their distance. If you cannot remember the explanations that I give you or your teachers give you, you have to see the distance. And if they are following each other without any word in between them, that becomes emphatic. But when there are some words coming in between the main pronoun or the subject and the reflexive, we call that as reflexive. There are a lot of times that we tend to make mistake, counting all the SELF or SELVES pronouns as reflexive, but see the distance that is between them. Like I said, I'm making a lot of repetitions here, but I really want you to get clear of this. I myself, the word myself here becomes an emphatic pronoun, but if I say I did the work myself, so I did the work myself, did the work has come in between the two pronouns, and that makes it a reflexive. But if I say I myself did the work, it becomes emphatic. So I hope all of you are clear with the second point, that is subject-pronoun agreement, which also has subdivisions of reflexive pronoun and emphatic pronoun. And coming to the third point, non-finite verb forms. And here, non-finite verb forms, we can further divide it into three. We can further divide it into three, and the first point will be non-finite verb forms. Infinitive. The second point will be gerund. And the third point will be participle. Okay, I'm going to explain it in a very simple terms. You do not have to refer to your books now. If you are with your books right now, you can keep it away and just focus on the explanation here. Because sometimes the textual explanation becomes difficult for us to comprehend it. So when I explain it to you in this way, I'm sure you will never have problem with non-finite verb forms again. But before getting into that, verbs can be classified into finite verbs and non-finite verbs. I repeat, verbs can be classified into finite verbs and non-finite verb forms. Finite verbs are the verbs that changes with the change of tense. I'm repeating here again. Finite verbs are the verbs that changes with a change of tense. Whereas non-finite verbs will never change their tenses even if the sentence changes. I'm going to cite an example. I go to school to study. The word go here is the verb. I go to school to study. Go is a present tense. If I ask you to change the sentence, you will surely say, I went to school to study. For me, I can say that because I'm no more a student. So I can say, I went to school to study when I was younger. I went to school to study. Here, what did you notice that the word study is also a verb? Because it's an action word. The word study is also an action word, but that did not change with the change of tense. We changed only the word go to went. I go to school to study, I went to school to study. So here, what we have to know is, I go. The word go is a finite verb, but to study is not a finite verb. It did not change with the change of tense. So all the verbs, to make it very simple, all the verbs with the word to, T or to in front of them are called as finite verb. Example, to plus study, to study. There are so many words that can come like this. There are so many other verbs that can come like this. And example, to eat, to sit, to play, to study, to watch the tele-tutoring class, or to listen to the tele-tutoring class. These are some examples. When any verb comes with the word to plus verb, I repeat, to study, to eat, to drink, or to do whatever. So those are called as the infinitive. It comes under non-finite verb. And the second point is gerund. Gerund here just means all the verbs with ing. Verb plus ing are called as gerund. I'm sure you have learned this in your lower classes, and even in class 9 you have done it, but I also don't expect all of you to remember everything that you learned in the previous years, because I don't do that myself. Maybe sometimes I forget whatever I've learned last week also. And so as a teacher, I also don't expect my students to know everything that they have learned in the previous years. And so, gerund comes with verb plus ing. And all verb plus ing makes gerund. And so you will see the gerund and also the participle. Here, when I say participle, there is present participle and past participle. And present participle will also have verb plus ing. Here, what I'm going to make a difference is gerund acts as an object. Example, cycling is an interesting event, or cycling is a good exercise. When I use the word cycling, it becomes more like a noun, and the word is has become the main verb. The word is. Cycling is an interesting activity. If I am going to change that tense, I should say cycling was an interesting activity. If I were a cyclist during my younger days, I would say that. But I will not say cycled, or I will not change it into cycle here, because cycling will remain as cycling, though it's a verb, and in a participle. In a participle, you will find that example, I am writing, or I am teaching you right now. You sitting in front of me, and I am teaching you right now. Teaching here has become the participle. So I want you to make a difference between that. Or if it is too difficult for you, this explanation may not be acceptable to some of you. But just look at the position. Cycling has become the first word of a sentence, and it will be a gerund. But if I say, I am going for cycling, or I am studying my book, studying has come into the middle of the sentence. You will not find this explanation in the book. Don't search for it, okay? I'm just making it clearer to you. And so if the verb plus ing has come to the middle of your sentence, that means it is a participle, present participle. But if it has come to the front part, acting as a noun. Example, I said cycling. We consider the word cycling to be a noun here, to be an object, and so that is a gerund. And so with that, we come to the conclusion of our grammar worksheet 1. I believe every one of you have learned something. And go to your textbooks to see whether you have any doubt, because unless you get into what you have listened, that is not going to be very effective. I'm also requesting you to finish the exercises A, B, and C at home if you have not done it, or if you have already done it, please go through that once again, and I will see you in the next class. And I'm requesting all of you once again to stay home, take precautionary measures to be safe, and also get in touch with your books every day, because this is going to be a normal class for us for some few days. Until then, I'm wishing you all the best in everything that we do. Get in touch with your books. Thank you.